Hello, welcome to Wild Sun Art Studio. My name is Robinsunne, and I am very happy to be back here with you all. I've moved to a new room in my house, and so there's a new camera set up, and the distance between the wall and the camera, anyway, took a lot of finagling. But I'm here. Okay, so today we're going to go back to paper cuts, and I'm going to show you the what has to happen in order to get a straight outside edge or a shaped outside edge, and kind of depends where you're going to be using these and how you're going to be using these, and so you get to make the choice. But I thought I'd show you how. So the first one I'm going to show you is this straight edge. What you're going to need are some pieces of origami paper that comes in colors. Very often the backside is white. Origami paper is perfect for paper cutting because it's really thin, but for all that it's thin, it's fairly dense. For comparison, tissue paper is also very thin. It's a little thinner than origami paper. It's also not very dense. And so kind of keeping a hold of the paper and making it do what you want it to do is a little trickier because it's just so fine and thin. This is a little bit more heavy weight than that, but not as heavy weight as, like office paper or something like that. So it makes folding it and getting a little bit more precise cuts that much easier. So any piece of paper will do, and any size. This is what have we got? About 3 3/8. I think I don't know. This may have come off. There's a standard size. It's about that big. It's like, no, that would only be 6 and something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. You can do this with any size you want. So what we're going to do first, there's some tricks. The first trick is making nice, sharp creases. So we're going to fold our square in half, like that, in one direction, and then we're going to fold it in half the other direction. And just take the back of your nail, kind of press it down. If you happen to have rumble, a bone folder, that works perfectly well too. Now we're going to fold this paper into a triangle, and what we're going to do is fold the front little flap there to the front and the back to the back. And you'll notice that these are cut edges here and here, and this edge is a folded edge and this edge is folded edge. So we're folding one folded edge to meet the other folded edge. And we're going to fold it and make a triangle. And now we'll take this and flip it over, and again fold the folded edge to the folded edge. And we want to really make sure we're matching those edges nicely, and we have a lovely point down here in what's going to be the middle of the paper. See? And every time go over your edges with the back of your nail or a bone folder, or sometimes I use on these plastic handled scissors. You can get an edge right there. And this is my favorite paper cutting scissor. I don't know if you can tell. Can you see? It's a Fiskars. And I love this shape of handle. It's not kind of down, it's a little bit, makes a right triangle there. Anyway, so the whole trick to making an outside edge that's straight is don't cut the outside edge. If you had a sort of maybe a rectangular piece of paper, you can cut this so that all of the cut edges, can you see that there, kind of meet and make, so we've got one beautiful, I think this is a nice, no, this is a right triangle because it has a right angle. No fancy Greek words here. All right. So there are two ways to cut. Remember we talked about this point being the middle of the paper, and of course this point here that has the open edges is the outside point. If you put this down, it would kind of be like that. So the inside point, if you want it to be open, cut in a beautiful decorative way, cut the point off. If you want it to be closed, sort of cut on either edge, but don't cut the point off. So let's just kind of mimic this one. So I think what I did here is I made a little sway out there like that. This won't be perfect, but all right, I think what I did up here was cut a long, let's do a really long triangle. I'm going to make it a little less deep and go out a little further than this one here. And then I went like this. I guess I went and then I bellied it a little bit. You don't really have to do any particular kind of cut, and you can start out with all straight cuts, making little sort of triangle shapes and box shapes and lines. Here, let's do that here. I did a box shape up here. The way that I got that was to cut, see, it kind of goes like that, triangle shape. And then there's a cut in here, which, because this one is being different, I have a little bit less space. So the other trick to getting nice lacy, I guess the first trick is to use origami paper, and the second trick is to use a nice sharp pair of scissors. I like this pair because the blades are so short that when I have to cut a little corner, it's very close. I don't know, it's like a physics thing. The effort of my hand doesn't have to travel out the blade very much. These scissors are also Dell, so that doesn't help at all. But when I'm cutting out here, there's a longer distance and I have a little less control. So I love this pair because they're short and I feel like I'm sort of right in the action and getting stuff done. All right, now we have to... Oh, and this is what made me think of this. The next trick is we want more negative space, stuff that I've cut out, than there is positive space, the blue part. So you'll see there's a lot of blue right here. So I want to cut something in there to just keep the paper cut really lacy. So I'm following, you know, the curl of that roundness. It always gets a little tricky. You're getting into those tight corners, and we've got a lot of blue right here, so I'm going to try to cut something cute. See, in this one, I left them coming down as sort of tongues, but in this one, it's I cut it differently, and it's a little bit bigger shape. So I'm going to cut some of that blue out so that we've got sort of less blue space than there is air going through it. And we want that because it helps it be really delicate and sweet and pretty. Now, this is a thing I do. You totally don't have to do it, but I promise you there's a good reason for it. I unfold it, but what I do is I bend back all of the folds as I go, and that will help this lay flat and not be all bendy. Da, 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 da. There we go. See how this solid tongue, I mean, I like it on this one, but on this one, that would have been a lot of blue in there. So I'm glad I cut that out a little bit. And there's a really big box in the corner, and on this one, it's much smaller. Boy, I really like this shape. And then sort of like an orchid petal or something. I like it. This one seems very successful to me. All right, without spending too much more time here, just so this is quick loading and we get back in the swing of making videos without challenging myself or my internet. So we folded it once and then fold it in half the other way. Now you'll notice, I always say this is like when we were kids and we made snowflakes in school. A real snowflake has 6 points on it, and you'll notice this only has 4 points. If you want to do 6, you have to fold this part in thirds, and there's probably a formula. I've never been able to remember what that is, but I just kind of eyeball. But anyway, that's for snowflake. We're not cutting snowflakes. We're just cutting diamonds here. Okay, so we are in half and in half again, and there are my open edges, and fold here. Let's do it like I did it before. Folded edges right here and a folded edge here, and we're going to cut this. Oh, this is a great one. It's going to come out a little wonky, and I'll show you what to do to make it straight. So we're going to match the 2 folded edges so they meet perfectly, and make sure that's a nice tight fold, and then we'll flip it over, and again we're going to match the folded edge with the folded edge. Press that into place and sharpen up all those edges. That just helps this whole little sandwich, you know, be as flat as it can be. Now you will notice that this right there is lower than this. So I'm going to have to cut this to make it be a perfect square. And I'm just eyeballing that. I think I did pretty well. All right, now this one, the outside edges are cut in a pretty way. So we're going, this time we are going to cut these cut open edges. And remember, that's the center. That point is the inside point, and this point is the outside point, like right there. Okay. And this time we're also going to leave the center full. This one, it was open, and this one we're going to leave it sort of closed, but cut around it so it still is nice and lacy. Got lots of negative space. And this time I'm not going to necessarily do the same thing. I just realized I'm cutting from the center out, and usually when I do these, I cut what if I'm going to make this a diamond or like a little almond shape mandorla. Let's make a diamond. I'm cutting this right here just because I don't think I cut it perfectly even, and I wanted it to be now. If I cut this all the way off, I'd get this box shape like I did here, but I like this sort of inner petal, outer petal look. So this is how you do that. Don't cut it entirely off. Come back and cut that space between, it goes black, air, black. So we want it to go blue, air, blue. Oops. You know what? We even have enough blue space there to cut another little bit off. Yes, do make sure you keep on breathing while you're doing this. This is going to be interesting. This is a really long cut. It's going to make the paper cut a little fragile when you cut these great big long cuts. I mean, you can tell it sort of bends away. We will figure that out. This is why there's glue. So I think you can see here what I did. White was, there's the outer petal and the inner petal, and I'm also leaving a little bit of a petal or a tongue coming down that way too. That'll be fun to see what happens. Now I want to remember that I'm going to keep this point closed, so I don't want to cut it off. I'm only cutting a little bit there because I want to make another cut in here. That's a lot of blue. I think I want to do that. That's going to be tight. But what's life for if not to be creatively challenged? All right, now I've got a big chunk of blue there. If I cut sort of a heart thing, a heart, not a heart thing. let's do this and make this a little bit more interesting. So you'll notice I was cutting off a very little bit of amount of paper, and these papers have a, let's do this, they have a tendency to kind of squish back and forth. So the thing to do when you're cutting that is hold right up to the edge of where you want to cut, and then cut like I did, to cut that off, to keep the pages from moving around. Now, of course, we need to be very careful of our fingers. You know how they're baby words? You know, when you're little kids, or if you're a mom or a dad, you've had little kids and they can't quite say the right words. Either my brother or my sister or I, actually I don't think it was me, it was either my brother or my sister, couldn't say fingers, and it ended up as shurmuring. Actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, I think that that was my older brother when he was a baby. I'll ask my sister. She will tell me. She remembers everything. And again, I'm bending back these folds so that it lies pretty flat on the table. I have a really squeaky table, and I hope that isn't annoying. See, if you don't bend it back, it does this. That's terrible. So we just gently go in, and the warmth of our fingers, you can kind of bend it back against your fingernail a little bit. This one is coming out really nicely. I'm going to do this. Check that out. It's the thing that I want. This is a plastic, yeah. Isn't that cool? Wow, see, this is that really long cut. They look awesome. They just make the paper cut a little, I mean, the only thing holding it together is that little bit of blue there. So, well, anyway, my dears, here we are. Let's see if we can get these, everything in your view. Da-da-da-da. So I didn't play too much with this edge, not quite as much as I did with this one. But it's nice. It gives it some real interest up here. Even this little cut right here, remember I didn't cut much off, but it really adds a bunch to visual interest. And here is the closed, right there, the closed center and the open center, closed center and open center. So I wish you a lot of luck making these. I highly recommend going out. You can get a little stack of all kinds of colors of origami paper. I highly recommend getting the solid ones, not the printed ones. The detail of the cut is so intricate, and if you put the detail of pattern and cut together, it just looks, to me, it looks confusing. It's not as great. So I like using solid colors. And maybe, I haven't done this in a long time. Let's talk, I'll make another video about what we can do with all these, because they're so much fun to make. You have to make many. I mean, you don't have to. Maybe you don't have to. I have to make bazillions of them. So this is my little basket of blessing diamonds. I think it's time for me to retell this story, so I have to make a video about that too. This is where I get to send you a look at shimmers in the lights. I get to send you blessings. So the couple of people I know and love a lot are traveling today, and so let's do a travel blessing. I wish all of you, whatever your travels are, from room to room today, or just going downtown, or from state to state, or country to country, wherever you're going, may you travel well and happily and in much health in this lovely pandemic year. And yeah, happiness and health. I wish you happiness and health. I blow them off to you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Crash. Crash. And I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.